everybody welcome. Did you get wine, cheese, food, all the things? Feel free at any time to help yourselves in the back. I'm Noelle. I am one of the owners here. This is Taylor. She is recently my partner here at the shop. So, if you guys haven't been here before, we really invite authenticity into our space, and that's kind of why you're here tonight, and we're really excited that you are here tonight. We believe that each of us is intrinsically beautiful from the inside out, and we try and celebrate that with all of our clothing, with all of our beauty that we offer here in our event space, our women's space. Dudes are welcome as well. We'll allow it. But we really are excited that you're here, and when you're done, feel free to shop. $8 is what you paid, and $5 off is what you get if you purchase anything. So that just comes off of what you put towards tonight. And we offer sizes 0 to 20 because we believe in all inclusivity and body shaping. And we cut all the sizes out of the clothing so that you never have to define yourself based on a number by somebody else. It's standard. So if you need help shopping for your size, let us know. And tonight we are welcoming Lisa, who I had the pleasure of having a reading from right before Thanksgiving, and she blew my mind a little bit, and so we really wanted to partner up and work together, and so we're trying to figure out even more ways than just tonight to do that. But I would really like to welcome her, and she's going to tell you a little bit about herself, and then open it up, I think, for you guys to hear a little bit about yourselves. So, Lisa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. I feel like I'm at home. I was saying I feel like I'm at home. I worked in fashion retail for 20 years, so it's super great to be in a shop. I'm like, oh, it's so nice in here and inspiring. So thank you guys for having me here, and thank you guys for coming. So I hope I'm here tonight. I'm going to share my story with you and talk a little bit about what I do, and then I'm going to read you guys. So I think it should be fun. There's a huge group, so we'll see what all happens. I've spent all day talking to people who have passed away, so I'm like in a definite zone today. It's been quite a day. So welcome. So yeah, I guess I'll just start out by saying, my name's Lisa. I'm a 4th generation psychic medium, so I'm Irish. I think there's a lot of psychics over there in Ireland. So, my mom, my grandmother, my great-grandmother were all channels and mediums and psychics, and my mom always knew what was going on with us and never had to ask us what was happening. And so since I was a little girl, I saw figures and had spooky things happen and just kind of felt like I had different things going on than probably my friends or other people. I was super lucky because it runs in my family. My family was really open about it, so I think that was good for me. I think that helped me to stand in front of you today and say what I do and not be afraid of that. I think I'm really lucky to have a supportive family that way. But I really didn't understand it. And so for a long time, I just kind of ignored it. I've been reading tarot cards since I was 16 years old, so like 25 years, long time. And so I read my cards for myself, my friends, my family. We messed around with the cards, but I didn't really do anything with it. And so back in 2006, I lost a baby, and I was very sad. And at the time, I was married to an alcoholic, and I weighed 250 pounds. So, and I have my little picture. I love showing this because it's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy, the difference between me then and now. And you can pass it around if you want to. It's just crazy. I love looking at that picture because I'm like, holy cow. So I was incredibly unhappy. I was incredibly unhealthy. And I went for a walk with my dog, and I had a basset hound at the time. He was my little baby. He's passed away now, but went for a walk with my dog and was like, this can't be it. This seriously cannot be my life. Like, this can't be what I was supposed to do with my life. And I really did just get this message, that was like, you need to get your cards out. And at the time, my tarot cards had been packed in a box for years. I mean, they'd really been put away for a long time. And so I pulled them out, and I started throwing cards, and I told my husband at the time, who's now my ex-husband, by the way, I'm a psychic, because I never talked about it, and I'd known this man for 10, 11 years at the time, and he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, and I think I'm supposed to help people. I think that's how I'm going to help myself. I think I'm supposed to help people. And he thought I was completely crazy, but I did. So on July 6th of 2000, or July 11th of 2006, I opened my doors and just started telling people I was a psychic and said, I'm going to help you. Well, a lot has happened in that time, obviously. You can tell just from my picture. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight is, the links between your physical health and your emotional health and your spiritual health. And, I believe that everybody's psychic. I don't think that I'm like special. I think that some of us may be more likely to do it than others. I think some of us might be more open than others. But I really believe that your pineal gland, your endocrine system, it's all a muscle. Just like, we could all go to the gym and work out and eventually we're going to be stronger. It's the same thing with your psychic abilities. So if you work those muscles and you practice meditation and you practice, going into a trance and all of those different things, or you practice reading a deck of cards, you're going to get good at it and you're going to be able to do it. Everybody has the ability. It's really just a matter of, how you use it and how open you are to it. So saying that, I think a lot of people these days are drawn to healing. They're drawn to, learning about healing, going to a psychic, or just being more spiritual or more esoteric than maybe you have been in the past, or maybe than past generations have been. And, a big part of that is your calling to heal. And so one thing I want to say with the beginning of my journey is my message was, I need to go help people. And what I realized now looking back is I needed to help myself. And I did that through helping other people, but it was definitely a journey. So even you guys being here tonight, like we're all on a path and you're here tonight for a reason, like because you're on a journey, you're on a path, you're on a mission, and it's really about healing and discovering yourself, because the more that you do that, the more you can help everybody else around you. The yogis talk about healing, and they talk about, so when you think of the gurus like Paramahansa Nityananda, Bhagavahan Nityananda, Yogananda, Anandamayi Ma, there's all these different gurus. Their belief is that by healing yourself, you're healing 7 generations forward and 7 generations back, and that you're actually clearing all of that energy and purifying the space. And it's really true. It's really true. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that tonight with my health and how that works, because it's a real tangible thing now for me in my life and how I'm living. So anyway, so to go back to 2006, I just decided to start reading people. And I'm very lucky, like I'm very accurate. When I'm wrong, I'm way wrong, though. There's definitely an ego check, usually. So, we're not God. We aren't going to know all the answers. And we're not going to see everything, because, some things you're just not meant to see. Some things you're not meant to know, and there's just nothing you can do about it. But, it's a lot of fun to be able to throw out a deck of cards and say, oh my gosh, this is going to happen. You got a new job, or you're going to do this, or whatever. But there's a lot more to it than that, and that was what happened, was over time, what I started to see were a lot of patterns, not only in my clients, but in myself. So I would spend 8 hours reading clients, and at the end of the day, I'd be like, wow, every single person I read today had an alcoholic spouse, boyfriend, whatever, and it wasn't good. And I'm married to an alcoholic. Like, maybe I need to think about this. And it could be really loud and obnoxious like that, or it could be really simple. Like maybe I spent all day telling people they needed to take care of themselves, get a massage, whatever. And by the end of the day, I was like, maybe I need to do that too. And so over the first 2 years of doing that work, I got very busy, very fast. I have clients all over the world. It was really intense. And I realized at the end of those 2 years in 2008 that, man, I need to get myself in order. Like, I need to live my authentic self, because the life I'm living is not a healthy one either. So I left my marriage at the time and said bye-bye to that, which was a healthy thing for me to do. I went off by myself. I went back to work in fashion retail because I knew I needed to have a break from working with people so that I could deal with my own stuff. And so that was hard, but it was good. I've kept clients all through that time, but I didn't actively go out and pursue anything. Like, I knew I needed to kind of pull it in and focus on myself. And so, that's what I did. And Through that time, I continued to meditate, continued to focus. You'll find, I think probably, I'm guessing from what I feel, that a lot of you are in this boat or have been, where, you are trying yoga, trying meditation, listening to some books, watching some shows, like doing some things. And so it's really subtle. It's subtle how you change over time. It's not, there's no like magic pill, like that before and after picture of me, that after picture was 10 years of really hard work. That wasn't like, oh, I went on a diet and I lost weight. That was energy work. That was clearing my space to be healthy. And so there's a lot of work, but it takes time. So like a year goes by and you look back and you go, wow, like look at all the stuff I learned this last year. So anyways, did a lot of meditation, and one day I was meditating and I was kind of just sitting in my bedroom and zoning out, floating away. And I ended up in this red room with all this gold on the walls. And I looked down this red carpet and I saw the Dalai Lama. And I'll never forget that. I knew it was the Dalai Lama. I didn't know anything more than that. Like, I recognized him because he's a public figure, but I was like, that's intense. And I walked up to him and had a brief conversation, and then like all of a sudden I was back in my room. And I was like, that is crazy. Like, how did this happen? And so the next day I got a letter in the mail from the office of the Dalai Lama, and it was a solicitation mail wanting, money for Tibet. And it came with some Tibetan prayer flags, and I'll never forget that because I thought, I have never in my life received this kind of solicitation. I don't know anything about any of this. So I got online and I Googled, and sure enough, His Holiness was speaking in Berkeley, California that next weekend. So I bought a plane ticket and I went because I knew I needed to figure this out. And that was really like, I thought that leaving my marriage was a big deal, but that was like the turning point of everything for me. Because when I saw His Holiness speak, and he walked out onto the stage, and there's thousands of people. I mean, it was insane. I've never been anything like that, and quite frankly, I had never traveled like that before. I'd never just gone and done something like that. I'd been with family or something. Like, I just went, poof, there I was. And he came out and he spoke. It was just like a public talk. It was about 90 minutes, and he just talked about compassion and his story. But I knew when I left there that was going to change my life. And so I started doing some research about the Dalai Lama. I'm Irish Catholic, like confirmed in the Catholic Church, raised with all of its glory. And I was really lucky because I had an amazing priest, Father Lennox. He was amazing. He knew I could see things that, other people couldn't. He acknowledged that, and he was very loving and compassionate. He was a really amazing person. So I have a very positive view of the Catholic Church for what it is. Anyways, so I went back, I did some research, and I signed up to go to New York City to a 3-day teaching with the Dalai Lama. And went, and it was, again, everywhere you go, there's thousands of people where the Dalai Lama is. So we filled up Radio City Music Hall. I'd never been to New York before, so that was new and interesting. So I'm like in this whole other city and whole other place. And Richard Gere is there, it's the whole thing. It's like total New York, Manhattan, like Dalai Lama is the whole thing. Anyways, I went there and went through the teaching. And at the end of the 3 days, I was walking out of Radio City Music Hall on the lunch break. And when I walked, every day I'd gone to Rockefeller Center to the mall because I love the mall. I love the mall. I love to shop. I do. And I love fashion. So I went there every day for lunch. And so that day I thought, I'm really going to do something else. I'm going to go around this corner. So I go around this corner and I literally smack right into Secret Service. And there's the Dalai Lama. Like, no joke, like where you're sitting. And he's like walking out for his lunch break, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, first off, there's these huge men like standing there, like blocking me. I'm like so scared. At the same time, there's the Dalai Lama. And I took a picture of him and he waved at me and I made eye contact with him. And I was like, oh my God. And after that, I went back in for the last session of the day, and His Holiness walked out onto the stage. And he said, I just have decided, like, if anybody's followed him, he's just amazing. But he's like, I just decided if anybody wants to take their refuge vows and become a Buddhist, I'm going to do it right now. Just stand up. And I thought, wow. And I had read in the books, that when a guru speaks to 20,000 people, he's speaking to every single individual. And I got that right then because I thought, he's really talking to me, but he's really individually talking to every single person in this space, which is unbelievable. Like, that's just something that you can't even wrap your mind around. So I became a Buddhist that day. I took my vows, and I took my Bodhisattva vows, and because he did those right afterwards for no apparent reason either, but that's what we did. And it changed my life. And so after that, I got really sick. I got really, really sick. And nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. I couldn't eat anything. Like, I was throwing up all the time. And it felt like I had like the flu, but it went on and on. This went on for like 3 or 4 months. And I started having these weird like tremors and neurological symptoms, and like all these really awful things were happening. And I was in the emergency room like 5 times. They kept telling me I was crazy, that they couldn't find anything wrong with me. And so it got to the point where I pretty much thought I was dying. I remember laying in my bed, and I was holding my Kuan Yin statue and my tarot cards, and I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to make it to tomorrow. I couldn't eat. I was so toxic and sick. And so I ended up driving home to Iowa, which is where my parents lived at the time. And I barely made it there. It was a 12-hour drive, and I actually crawled. I lost my vision right before I got to my mom's house, barely pulled up in her driveway, crawled on my hands and knees into my mom's house, and like looked at my mom, and I was like, because I couldn't sleep because I was so anxious. And I'm sure you guys know when you have anxiety and worry, like I was so anxious that if I fell asleep, I'd die and no one would know it because I was by myself. And so I looked at my mom and I said, if I die, I love you, but I finally have to go to sleep. And I went to sleep, and I slept for like 2 days. And when I came to, all the symptoms, I mean, it was just awful. All these symptoms were still there. I can't even begin to describe them at this point because it was 7 years ago, and it was a lot to handle. It was pretty traumatic. But I do remember my mom telling me, like, she's like, I don't really know all the stuff that you do with your spiritual stuff. She's like, but you need to do it. She's like, you need to sit down and you need to meditate and you need to pull yourself out of this. And so I did a meditation, and I saw the angels like kind of standing around me, and they were like, you have to get up. You can't, this isn't your time, and you have to get up. And so I did. I sat up when they told me I was like laying down when they did that. I sat up, and I was like, threw my cards out, and I was like, okay, like I know that something is inside of me that's making me sick, and it has to do with my food. And so I started doing some research online, and I came across candida and yeast and fungus and all this stuff, which probably a lot of you know about at this point. At the time, it's much more in the world than it was 7 years ago. And I found a doctor in Boulder who practiced integrative medicine, because Western medicine doesn't believe in all this stuff, right? Everybody has candida in their body, and there's an overgrowth that you can have. And so I went to this integrative doctor and found out that I had 3 different kinds of parasites eating my body. One of them was destroying my liver, and 22 food allergies, and candida issues, all in one fell swoop. So that was how I lost my first 60 pounds. Was because I had to change everything that I did. I was allergic to wheat and dairy. Up until that point, I had my culinary degree. Up until that point, I'm a major foodie. I ate whatever I wanted, which is probably why I was 250 pounds. And so I had to change everything, and it was a true purification process, because if you have parasites, you have to starve them. So I couldn't even have rice. You can't have any sugar. You can't have any carbohydrate for 90 days. It was really hardcore. But what happened, and what was interesting, and why I'm sharing this story tonight, is because there's this direct correlation to the spiritual and the emotional part. Because prior to all of this, I was doing energy work to clear out what was making me overweight. I had signed up to be a volunteer for 2 weeks at the Kala Chakra with the Dalai Lama in Washington, D.C. So there was a purification that was having to go on within my system in order for me to do that. Now, that stuff I didn't know consciously, but afterwards I'm like, oh my God, I've been asking for this for years, and here it is, and I have to detox my system. The other thing is that every soul attracts a perfect mirror. So when you think about relationships and partners, every soul attracts a perfect mirror, whatever that mirror is for you at this time. And I had been married to an alcoholic we were together for 13 years. So I had to face my own addictions. I had to face my food addictions. My doctor actually instructed me. I drank so much Diet Coke that my doctor instructed me that my adrenals were going to fail. She told me what was going to happen when it happened, when I went off of caffeine, and no joke, it happened. So I was laying on my bathroom floor, clinging to the rug, sweating with a fever because of Diet Coke. I mean, I thought, this is what crack addicts feel like. And here I am, like, dealing with this. And it was my faith and my spirituality that got me through, because I just kept thinking, like, I know I can get through this. Like, I know I can get through this. And I did. And when I got to the other side, I got well enough just in time to go to Washington, D.C. for the Dalai Lama. So it was the third time I got to see him, and I went for 2 weeks. And I worked as a volunteer. And so this time I got to meet him because I was a volunteer. So on the last day of 14 incredible days of being around Tibetans and listening to these chants every single morning, and so many things happened that week, I couldn't even talk about it in the time we have. But as those things happened, at the end of the week, on the last day at 4 o'clock in the morning, we all got a call saying, His Holiness will see you guys at 5:30 if you can be here. And we showed up, and there he was. And there was like a group of 30 of us, and I literally he stood like right in the middle of us. So like I'm pressed up against like His Holiness's robes, and I'm thinking, holy crap, like how did this happen? And how did I even get here? Because I was so sick. And here I was, like, well and healthy, and at that time about 40 pounds lighter, and I'm standing with the Dalai Lama. And I was just like, how does this happen? I mean, it's crazy, and it's awesome. And so I'm telling that story because all these things led up to that. And that's only one piece of the last decade of my journey. Like, that's only one piece. And so, part of why I wanted to talk about this here is because the focus, I walked into this shop for the first time last week, and I was so inspired. And I love fashion. And I was a very meticulous store manager because of energy, right? Like, I was so sensitive to energy. Like, I knew who I wanted to hire. I knew how I wanted the shop to feel. I could tell when there was bad energy. Like, oh my God, I was super passionate about my stores. And I walk into this place, and for the first time in a long time, I was like, oh my God, I want to be in this place. I want to be here. I want to shop. I always told my staff, I was a district manager for a long time, and I always told everybody, if I went into your store and I wanted to shop, you did something right. And that's how I felt when I came here, but I felt inspired. And so I wanted to come here and talk about this because I'm hoping to inspire you guys too. Because you can heal and you can change. There are things that I thought were just a part of my makeup. Like, this is just how I am. Like, I just have these things go on with my body or my life or whatever. And I can tell you today, like, all of that's gone. Like, completely gone. Like, I know there's boys in here, but like my menstrual cycle is completely normal, and it never was. Like, that's one like major thing. Like, not just weight loss, but like, my skin is clear, and just things that just are just different. My life is different. How I view myself is different. And that's not about losing weight. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the energy of facing your fears, facing your addictions, releasing what you're afraid of, stepping into what you're afraid of, and like pushing past it and getting beyond it. Because once you do that, like, the sky's the limit. Like, I met the love of my life 18 months ago. And like, I just can't believe it. Like, every day I'm like, I can't believe this finally happened. Like, how did this happen? Like, completely changed my life. And that happened because I did the work, and he did the work. And so, part of what I want to talk about and what I'm saying now is, like, you got to do the work, but it's super worth it because you get to a different place, and it's subtle. It's not running out and like making a bunch of changes. It's just doing what you're called to do. It's trusting your intuition. It's learning to meditate. Like, meditation, contemplation, and self-inquiry are probably the three major things that you have to do to change your life. because that's the key to self-awareness. And meditation is not like, no. You walk, run, sit down with a magazine even. Like, meditation's a lot more simple than we make it out to be. Oftentimes when you just sit down and you're trying so hard to like be in that quiet space, you don't like find a way to find your quiet space and your sacred space. The mall is one of my sacred spaces, like no joke. I like to go. I know retail's dying and it's sad and it makes me sad, but I like to go and look at the window displays and like look at the clothes, and like that opens up all my creative channels and it makes me think about stuff. And so here I am. I did have one other near-death experience, and I'm not gonna go into that tonight. But 2 years ago, it happened again, essentially. But it was more of the story. But where I'm at today is I know everything I need to know about my health. Everything I was able to heal completely naturally, so I did not need to do a whole bunch of crazy stuff in order to heal. It really is about diet. It really is. It's about diet and detoxing and keeping yourself clean and pure. But back in October, like I said, I've met my partner and I'm happy, and life is good. And I was like, you know what? I think it's finally time for me to go back out into the world. And the difference between this time and last time is that when I first went out and started doing psychic readings, it started out with intuitive counseling and tarot reader and all that. I think if any of you guys do any of that, there's like this process of like, am I really going to am I going to go all the way with this? Am I going to say like what I do? But I really didn't talk about the medium side. I didn't talk about talking to loved ones who passed away. One, I was scared because what if you're wrong? Like that's nothing to mess around with. Number two, it scared me to have to like open that door because I was still a little freaked out about the fact that I see these like things. I mean, sometimes I'd be in the store and see people walking around and I knew no one else saw those people, just me. So there's a little freakiness to that. So, but between what I went through that I told you about, and 2 years ago I went through a more intense like death experience, I realized there's really no separation. I think that's really what I understand now is there's no separation between the living and the dead. We're all one. There's no separation between us and God. We're all one. Like we're all the same. I'm you and you're me and everybody's one. And that interconnectedness, that unity consciousness, like I realized that it wasn't just that I can see somebody that's passed away, but they're really there and they're really connected and they're really just like me, just because they don't have a body. But that doesn't mean anything. And so I decided to start talking about it. And I had an amazing experience today, which was super crazy because I got some information today that was like mind-blowing to me, because it was so accurate. And there's no way that I would have known that this person who passed away did this particular thing. And yet I was able to tell them that this person was telling them this information. And so I don't even know what to say about it because I don't know how it works really. it just does. And I love it. And we'll probably talk to some people tonight because there's lots of energy floating around in here. But, so that's the difference is that, I see things differently now than I did, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. And I trust it more, for sure. I think I've done it enough and I've worked with the public enough at this point that I'm like, okay, like I'm just going to go with it. Right or wrong, I can't worry about it. Like I have to just go with like, the energy and what I feel. So do you guys have questions so far? Or anything you want to know? Yeah. Yes. Hi. Yeah. I just didn't like actively engage them. Okay. Yeah. Every once in a while I'd have a client ask me to talk to somebody or ask if I could, but I really didn't have people come to me for that because I really didn't put it out there. Okay. Since I put it out there, it's almost every single client and it's like, holy moly, but it's been good so far. So, but yeah, I've always seen stuff.
But you also kind of ask for that energy to come to you.
Yeah, well, I actively engage it. Like, imagine if you tried to imagine you're on the street and people are walking by and you tried to actively talk to every single person. That would be really hard. And that's the same thing with me, because when they see somebody when they see a medium energy, it's like a big party. Like, literally all the spirits are like, there's a party over here and we want to talk to her, and I've got 100 things I want to say, so I'm going to talk to you. So like, I just blocked it out. Like, I'm not going to go talk to everybody, but I would see stuff and be like, oh, okay, there's a man there, don't know what he wants, or, oh, weird stuff would happen, Yeah.
What does it look like to you? Do you see like a woo or a physical body?
Yeah, so it depends. It's actually pretty interesting because they have what they call, I do a ton of research because I want to understand how the heck this all works. So there's what they call etheric RNA and DNA. And so really they project an image that is real to them. So I would say if they're more evolved, more conscious, if they believed in this stuff, they might project a full-on figure because that's where they're at in their evolution, where somebody else might be floating around. So sometimes I see, literally with my eyes, I will see figures. Sometimes they're very, very clear, and sometimes they're kind of like a shadow. Sometimes I see it with my third eye, so sometimes it's like, ooh, I know there's a man here and I can see what he looks like, but I'm not physically seeing him. Sometimes I see orbs that like float around. And again, sometimes it's with my real eyes and sometimes it's with my third eye. It depends on the energy that they're producing, and it depends on the energy in the space too. We've got a lot of cell phones, we've got a lot of stuff in here, like that's all good for us. And I'll warn you guys, cell phone batteries drain when we do things like this, so just FYI. Or go off. Well, you don't have to. I'm just telling you, like, they like to suck the battery. They need the energy to produce to produce energy, but they love to do that. Like, I can't record. I've tried to record my readings, and like my digital recorders just die. There's just no way around it. So I'm literally thinking of getting an old school tape player and recording them that way, because that's the only thing that's ever worked for me. Because electronics are, like my phone battery, I'm recording this and my phone's at no battery. It's going to die. So anyways, I mean, some of that's technology, but some of it is them. So yeah, so I see them all different ways and I hear them. So you don't just like see a taco and eat it, but all you do is see it, right? Like you taste it, you smell it. It's the same thing with the spirit world. So sometimes I hear them, sometimes I see them, sometimes it's a combo, sometimes I smell stuff. Sometimes it just depends on the energy. It's not often I smell things. Every once in a while.
Do you ever just smell something though, like on the one-offs? Because I feel like that is a sensory thing I've read about.
Yeah, every once in a while. For me, it's rare. I know some psychics it's a lot. For me, it's a rarity. It's a pretty potent energy. And there's a very particular reason why I'm smelling it. It's not just like I once talked to Al Capone, which is a very bizarre story, but I had a producer that wanted to talk to Al Capone. He was writing a book about him. And so we called in Al Capone, and I don't know anything about this guy, but the whole room smelled of cigar smoke so thick that both me and the client, we both smelled it. It was like, holy cow, this place is full of cigar smoke right now. It was like obvious that there was an energy there. That's like probably the most intense, cool thing that's ever happened. Sometimes I smell cooking. It's usually grandmas and cooking. That's usually what I smell. But otherwise, I haven't had like anything super intense.
Do you connect with our souls too, like our energy, so you can kind of say,
Yeah.
Your soul's telling you this?
Yes, for sure. So how I read is through, like, how do I explain this? So you have to be in the present moment to read, period. You get extremely present, and when you're extremely present, it's very easy to see the future and the past. It's very easy. So I would say that the way that I read, or the process, is if I'm sitting down with you individually, I have you say your full name for me 3 times, because what that does is it gives me permission to read you, but it also helps me to connect with your energy, like you're talking about, your soul energy. So when I connect with you, I'm connecting with your present you. Like, what is going on with you currently? And your soul is part of that, like your soul energy and your spirit guides and your loved ones. And it's like a whole big package that kind of shows up, and it's like, whoa, okay, here's all the information I need to see.
Is it possible for somebody to be shut off from you reading them?
For sure. If you don't want to hear the information, but I would say people aren't going to come for a reading if they're going to be shut off from it.
It's the other way around.
What do you mean?
They don't want to be read, or they're there for other reasons or something like that.
I can't say I've ever had anybody come to me that didn't want a reading, because usually that's why you're coming to me. But I can say at some fairs I've had some people come who were like, they didn't want to hear what I had to say. And so my spirit guides are pretty good at guiding me with the message of whatever I need to say, and they'll take it for what it is. I can tell you that 9 times out of 10, those people have called me a couple weeks later and said, oh my God, like, I didn't want to talk about it, but now I have to talk about it. Usually, so I can tell you that the not wanting to be read or not wanting to be seen is really because there's probably some stuff that you don't really want to deal with. And so I'm respectful of those boundaries. But I do have a clear intention. I mean, for my clients, if somebody comes to me, it's because they want the truth and they want to work on their stuff, and that's why they're coming. So I don't have that issue very often, if that helps.
So can you talk back to the spirits you're seeing?
Well, yeah, we can all, we're all talking to them now. There's a communication. Like, I can ask questions and they can, but usually you're guiding it. So like, if there's a loved one that you want to talk to and we're talking to them, like, you can say, well, I want to know X, Y, Z. They're going to give me the information. So that's the part that we always get caught up on is, well, you're talking to them, but no, it's really like they're in the room. We're all communicating, if that helps. Yeah.
How did you get to know your spirit guides?
A lot of meditation. There's so many, oh my God, when I started doing this, when I started in 2006, like, I don't even know if YouTube, I don't know if it was around. I don't even know, to be honest, because I never looked. But there's so much available on YouTube now for meditation, guided meditations. Like, it's like a gold mine of guided meditation. So there are lots and lots of ways that you can meet them. There's a really good book that I recommend almost every time I talk called Opening to Channel, and it's by Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer. And that book has an excellent guided meditation to meeting your spirit guides in it. It talks about meeting your master guide to channel, but that's a really good one. But yeah, I did a lot of meditation. There's one, so Chip Away is my buddy, and anybody who knows me knows Chip Away, and my niece asks Chip Away all the time for parking spots and stuff. He's kind of a show-off. I know. I told my boyfriend, I was like, there's this guy, his name's Chip Away, he's going to get his parking spot. And every time. And so now he's like in on everybody that knows me knows about Chip Away. And he does a lot more than that, but it's the fun part of it, right? Because it's like, oh, is he going to do it? Yeah, he's like, he's getting me a spot. Anyways, so Chip Away I've known a lot longer before meditation. He's a Navajo Indian guide, and I've seen him since I was pretty young. Like, I just knew he was always there. I didn't know he could get me parking spots, but I knew he was always there. Everybody's different. It depends on what you're working on in your life. You can have loved ones who have passed away that are guiding you, but there's healing guides, there's master guides, there's gatekeepers, there's hundreds of angels and fairies. There's all sorts of stuff that, depending on how you want to compartmentalize it. So.
I don't know really how to articulate this question, but like, with your growing up and, getting older and this and that, do you think it came more to you that way, that you kind of didn't really give a fuck about society and what they thought about you, that's how you opened it up for yourself? Or do you think that, like, because you said as a young kid, like, you always had that, but do you think that it grew, or do you think it was always just that? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So the answer is yes and no. So I think it was always just that, and it was always just there. But, like, I didn't do any psychic development as a child.
Right.
Like, I didn't learn to meditate or any of those things. Like, it was just a weird thing. Oh, Mom had a dream and it came true. Like, it was a weird thing in our family that we're like, oh, we just know information. Like, oh, I just see this man in these overalls every night. Every night for years, standing in my doorway, freaking me out, this railroad guy. Like, why is this railroad guy there? I didn't know. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the gift, I don't think changed. Like, I don't think what I saw or felt or did change. What changed is the psychic development piece. I went through the Berkeley Psychic Institute training program in Boulder. That was 2 years of training on meditation and trance work and energy work and running energy and using tools and understanding how to manage it. Because before I couldn't manage it, it was like I go to a movie theater and I'd start crying because some lady's upset behind me and I don't know why I'm crying and I'm anxious and like feeling all this stuff. So I think it was always just that, but I think what changed is, number one, I got to a place in my life where enough was enough. I knew there was something more for me out there than what I was doing, and I didn't care. Like, my personality, I'm a Scorpio, so my personality is like, I don't really care what other people think anyways, and I'm going to do what I want to do. So I think I got to the point where it's like, this is what I think I should do, so I'm just going to do it. And it was freaky. Like, my mom was freaked out at first. She's like, are you really going to tell people you're doing this? You know? And now my dad's like telling people on the airplane, oh, my daughter, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Dad, you can't just tell everybody this. Like, somebody's going to think you're a weirdo. Like, what are you doing? But he's like so proud, you know? But before, it was super awkward. Like, even my parents were like, what's going on? Until they saw what I saw, which was stuff's happening, like good stuff. And like, you know, there's real things going on, you know? So if that answers your question, like it was always there, but you do have to, it is a muscle you have to train. It's not, I mean, it can be just willy-nilly. And if you're trying to open up your intuitive gifts, like that's intense too, because sometimes it's like getting hit by a Mack truck because you start to meditate and you're like, oh my God, like this is happening and that's happening. I'm so overwhelmed. I don't think I'm in the right job and blah, and you freak out, you know, like that all happens too as you open yourself up. And anytime you're making any kind of change, that's what happens. What else? These are good questions.
Do you have a way now to shut everything off and just focus on you or what you need? Because that's a lot of stuff.
It is a lot of stuff, and I have 4 stepkids, so that's even more crazy. So there's a fine line with balance for sure, I think, and I still struggle with that absolutely because I'm definitely a giver and a caretaker person, but I do things for myself. And, you know, I work on trying to do that every single week. So yeah, you know, so I have 4 future stepkids and I love them so much. They're just like, oh my God, I love them so much. And, when I'm with them, everything else goes away and I color and I paint and I draw and I cook and I play with the kids. Like they're really a release for me, for sure. And I do get to go on a lot of vacations, which is nice, and see fun things and be out in nature. And I live in Colorado. I kind of grew up here. I lived here till I was 10, and then my dad got transferred to Iowa. So as soon as I turned 17 and got out of high school, I came right back because I did not want to be in Iowa. No offense to Iowa people who might be watching on Facebook, but I know. Oh, Iowa. You know, I love Iowa. Like, Iowa's like, oh, it's Iowa. But then it's like, oh, God, I got to get out of here because it's cold or it's hot or it's humid or it's gross and whatever. But it's a beautiful state. So anyway, but my point is Colorado's a great place for self-care. Like, not only is it holistic and natural, and there's a lot more for us alternatively here, especially with my food allergies. Like, it's become critical for me to be here. I have huge problems with mold and fungus, so it's critical for me to be here because it's a really clean place for the most part. But I can't live without like these mountains every day. Like going into the mountains, going out in nature, like that keeps me grounded, or else I probably like float away, you know? So yes, so self-care is challenging. Can I turn it off? Yes.
And you just say, I'm off the clock.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah, it's true. Exactly. Like you just kind of shut it down and you turn your chakras down. Like you learn that in psychic school. Like you turn your chakras down and you kind of shut everything down. There are times that I don't use my tools. Like I get stressed out like everybody else. I'm human, you know? And so when you're human and you get angry and frustrated and stuff goes on, it's like, oh man, I should have meditated today. Like, whoops, I should have done that. So, you know, I'm human. Like we're all human, you know? So you have to learn how to balance that. And that's still part of my journey. Like part of my journey is how do I live in balance? And the more that I talk about it and the more that I help other people, the more it continues to keep me walking that same path too. So it's a great question. And you can turn off I can't stop myself from seeing them. Like I might be at a restaurant, I'm like, oh, there's a dude over there. Like I can't, but they don't yell at my ear. I think for the most part at this time in my life that the spirit world is very respectful of my energy. And what's weird or interesting, and I don't even know why this is, but ever since I got sick this last time, the last 2 years, not only is it really easy for me to communicate with them, but before I was really draining, like I was really tired, and it's not at all anymore. It's like very energizing, and it makes me really happy. So it's a very different, that's how I know that it's right, because it just feels right all the time.
What are you feeling right now?
So yeah, great segue. Yeah, so I want to do some readings. Like I don't know if I can get to every single person because this is a really big group, but I will see what happens. But there's definitely a lot of energy in here. There's definitely a lot of male energy coming from this back like corner, and like I want to say like 4 or 5 men. And I feel like there's some grandpas and there's some dads, and they're all kind of standing there going, what the heck is this all about? But like, here's the people I'm connected to. And like, yeah. So it's like the male spirits are always in the back because I think that they think it's a bunch of hooey still. Like, I think that's what I think. I think that they're like, I don't know if I really want to do this. And so they're like back there, but we'll get them up here. So there's a lot of male energy. There's a lot of, for whatever reason tonight, I see a lot of grandmas as orbs, like a lot of little grandma faces like floating all around. I do feel one intense passing in here, so I don't know if anybody will kind of figure out. What I've learned in group settings is we'll sort through like what's going on, and I'll kind of point to you. I also brought my cards because, when it comes, so one thing I'll explain about medium work before I read the group is not everybody's going to show up. We all wish they would. I can't tell you how many times I've been to a medium thing and I don't get read. And I'm like, man, I'm a psychic. I should be, no. So not everybody shows up. It's really the strongest energies that come through in a group setting. If you come to me, we're going to talk to them.
And
There's no
I
doubt.
recommend booking an appointment with her, just a private. Because
Oh,
it's
thank you.
one-on-one and it's you guys, and she has your full kind of attention.
I'm still blown away by ours. Like, I'm blown away by my own readings, like every day. Today, this thing happened, and I'm like, how did this happen? Well, it's like, I don't know how this works. Like, I called my mom, no joke. I called my mom on the way here, and I'm like, you will not believe what happened today. And my mom just started laughing, and she's like, you tell me these stories every single day. She's like, when are you going to figure this out? And I'm like, I just don't understand how this works. Like, how do they talk to me? Anyway, so not everybody comes through in a group session because there's literally probably 40 or 50 spirit energies in here right now. There's no way I'm going to be able to talk to everybody. Usually it's the strongest energies with the biggest message that want to come through to that person at that time. And sometimes they cross-connect. So I don't know how many of you guys have watched John Edwards or Lisa Williams. It's the exact same thing as what they're talking about. So sometimes I might be like, oh, this is their message. And you're like, that makes no sense, but it makes sense to you. Right, because they're cross-connecting, because it's like playing charades with like a bunch of different people at the same time, and I see all these pictures, and it's like, ah. So what I learned a long time ago is to say every single thing that I see and feel, because who knows who it's going to connect to. For a long time, I questioned. I was like, I'm not going to say that. And then I learned. I had this bread box story, and I've told this bread box story so many times, but or this bread machine. Not a box, a machine. But I was doing a medium reading, and I was really nervous because it was like one of the first times I'd really done this for somebody I didn't know. And I kept seeing this bread machine. We're talking to this mother-in-law who'd passed away, and I was like thinking in my head, I'm like, this is an insane thing, but it wouldn't go away. And I think you've seen that. Like, I love John Edwards and Lisa Williams. They're probably my favorite mediums to watch, but they're the exact same as me, where like the spirit will just keep giving you the message until you get it out, because they're trying to get this message across. So finally I said, this is super weird, but I see a bread machine, and like they just started crying, and they were like, oh my God, like this bread machine, like our mother-in-law bought us this bread machine, and we were fighting with her about the bread machine. We didn't use it, and then she died, and now we're using it, and like it was a big deal. So ever since then I say everything, because I'm like, who the heck knows what the heck I'm talking about, but somebody's going to know. Anyway, so in a group setting, I try to go with the energies that are the strongest. Like, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on right there, and there's a lot at the back of the room. So that's kind of the direction I'll go, and I'll kind of sift through it. When these happen, I don't like to be led, and I don't want to ask leading questions, but it's hard because I also need to make sure I've got the right spirit. So I always say, don't give me a bunch of information, but if I say, does this make sense to you, or do you connect with this? Just say yes or no. If you don't, it might be somebody else's spirit. If I still feel like it's for you, I'm going to go with it anyways, because what I've learned is in this group setting especially, it's like, oh my God, it's like exciting and stuff is going on. And sometimes we think, oh, that makes no sense. But then like we get home and we're like, oh, I know what they were talking about. Or 2 weeks later, it's like, oh my God, that's what they were saying. So I like to, one of my little sayings is like, put it in your back pocket, which means like, my phone just died. It went out, boom. Anyway, I like to say, put it in your back pocket, because it means like it is for you, but how it reveals itself to you depends. And again, I brought my cards also in case we have time for some of that too. It just depends, I guess, on where we're at with our time. What time is it? 7. Okay. 7:06. Okay, perfect. So yeah, so that's kind of how it works. Do you guys have questions? Okay. I know, you will as we go. I love it. Well, so weird story about the pets. So last week I did a medium event, a gallery reading at Full Moon Books. I try to do that every couple months. And for whatever, I always read a prayer at the beginning of that kind of event. Like we're doing this is a little bit more fun, but I always do a prayer. And I read The Rainbow Bridge, which is about your pets passing away. And I thought, this is a really weird, like, why would I read this when we're going to talk to people who have passed away? And since then, I've talked to some more people's pets. I had people come today. I had 2 pet readings today, like from pets that passed away. And I thought, oh my God, these pets are just coming out everywhere. So I don't know what it is about pets the last like week, but they've been like everywhere, which is pretty awesome. And those are always running around, by the way. Like there's cats running around. There's a few dogs in here. Like there's always pets, because pets just love to like play and mess around for sure. So anyways, okay. So you guys ready? All right. Any more questions?
What does the energy look like? Since it's so many people. Like you said, there's a lot of energy over there. There's a lot of energy. Like, what does that look like?
It's like groups of light. So like there's a whole lot of light right here, and like almost like it looks like if you went to a rock concert and they have the fog machine and then they turn the lights on, that's what it looks like. It's like foggy blurbs, but then if I like go over to it, like there's energy right here. If I go over to it, like then they kind of step away and it's like, oh, okay, there's a man and there's a woman, and like I can sort out like what's going on. It is really crazy. I don't know how it works. Don't ask me how it works.
Are those orbs you see in photographs real?
Yeah.
I see them in my backyard with orbs.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
It's not just water droplets or anything.
No. You can tell if it's a water droplet or a piece of dirt versus an orb, for sure. And they're totally real. And they're totally awesome to take pictures of, because there's energy. Like we play a game, and especially my stepson loves this. We play a game where we take pictures with the flash, like everywhere we go, because we keep getting orbs and rods, especially. He's really good at it. He's going to be a good little spirit photographer. Yeah, and so because they like to suck up the energy from the flash. So aura photography and all that stuff, yeah, for sure. It's just energy. I have a picture, and I keep meaning to post it on my social media, and I have to do it because I have a picture of a woman. So I went to, this is a great story, and then I promise I'll start reading, but it's another great fun woo-woo story. But I went to South Dakota, to the Black Hills, to Deadwood. I'm obsessed with Deadwood. I love the HBO show. I went. And when I went on this train ride, the 1880s train, and I got on the train, and at the time, I don't have this fear anymore, but at the time I had this weird phobia of public transportation, like really weird. It stressed me out, probably because all the people. I got on this 1880s train, and if you don't know anything about South Dakota, or even if you do, like the Black Hills was all mining, and the 1880s train is the original train tracks that took the miners to and from the little towns to the mine. So I get on this train, and no joke, I fall asleep. And that never happens. I'm not a napper. And I wake up. It stopped at this old original stop. And I woke up and I looked over and I was like, oh my God, like I rode this train every day. Like I had a past life here. Like I've ridden this train every day. This was my stop. I fell asleep because I just always did. Like I just knew. And they pointed out on the other side, there was this place called the Addy House, which was a brothel until 1989, folks. Like that's a pretty long time. It's a little horrifying that that was still a brothel in 1989, but it was. Anyway, so it was a brothel, and they said this old place is called the Addy House, and it was abandoned now. And I was like, I have to go to that house. So I get back to the train station, you get off the little ride or whatever, and I got in my car, and I'm like, I knew exactly where that house was, and I drove right to it, which is bizarre in itself, because it was all these weird back roads, and I just knew where I was going. I just went to this house. And it's abandoned, and I took these pictures, and when I got home, so then had the trip, whatever, I get home, and I, like, printed them out, because before, it wasn't a digital camera. I mean, this is, like, a while ago. And anyway, I printed out the picture, and there is this, like, spirit woman, naked woman, like, floating in the window of this house. It's amazing. And I have it on my wall. She's my Mrs. Addy house, and she protects, like, my house. Like, she watches over it. I love her. And anyways, that's another. So spirit pictures are fun because I have a few like that where I've gotten the full apparition, which is crazy. And I feel like I'm on Ghostbusters right now when I say apparition. I'm like, where's Bill Murray? Anyway. Other questions? Okay, I want to kind of start and regardless of where we go tonight, I have a few different card decks that, one's self-guided and one's regular so that everybody gets something out of tonight because this is a way big group, which I'm happy for. So, okay, so I want to go over here, but I kind of want to go to the back first because you two ladies, baseball hat, what's your first name? Kristen? Yeah, what's your name? Okay, you two have like a lot going on. So I'm actually going to come back here first because you guys have there's a lot happening over here. Now you have so all these men are like attached to this little area, but you've got a female too. So you've got a man behind you. I'm trying to decide who I want to go to first. I think I'm going to do you first. Are you cool with that? Sorry, ladies. Okay, so so you have a man right here, and he's kind of showing me, I feel like, I almost want to say this is your dad, not your grandpa. Is your dad still here? He is still here? How about your grandpa on your dad's side?
Both my grandpas are deceased.
Okay. What's your grandpa's first name?
John.
On your dad's side?
John.
What's the other one?
Al.
Al? I think it's Al. I think it's connected to your mom. Although he keeps referencing your dad. And he's referencing your dad, and he's showing me like his chest or something. Is there anything going on with your dad?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I could see it eventually getting into that.
Okay.
Stress.
Yeah, he's.
Because my brother passed. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, maybe we'll get to. Okay.
I'm sure he probably was just like. Meow.
Yeah. I was like, that explains all this going on over here because there's a lot of it's like a little family party over here. Okay. So we'll get to your brother in a minute because Grandpa stepped forward first, so I want to deal with that first. So he's talking about your dad, and he's talking about your dad's chest. And the thing about it, it could be the grief that you're talking about, but when I look at it, it more feels like I don't get a heart, I get like a respiratory thing. So I would just keep obviously there's a lot of stuff going around, but like he's showing that there's some kind of respiratory thing going on with your dad. So I just want you to be aware of that because I don't want to discount that message. Okay? Okay, so your brother's first name?
Jonathan.
Jonathan. What's his full name if you're comfortable in the group?
Jonathan Todd Ruprecht.
Okay. So he is, I smile because he kind of bounces, and he's very high energy, very joyful. And I think he was very handsome from what I can see. He's like a handsome, joyful guy, and he like wants to squeeze you right away. It's like he just wants to squeeze you. Like there's no like hug or like blowing kisses. It's like, no. I just want to take you and squeeze you and like spin you around and like be with you. And so he's got this like really bright, soft energy. He shows a dog. Do you have a dog that passed when you were younger or something? He's got a dog. And he's talking about, he shows children or little children. Did he have children?
Yeah, he has 2 boys.
Okay. Okay. So he's talking about, he wants to talk about the littlest one. Okay. So the younger, whoever the younger one is. The younger one, it has some sadness, some issues. I'm trying to watch what I say in the group, but he's
His youngest?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And he's concerned about, like I said in the group, it's hard, but the younger one's going to some dark places that he's worried about. He doesn't like that he's looking at some stuff or something's going on there. How old is he?
Well, so there's 4. I have 2 and he has 2, and they're
Okay.
all like from 20 to 24.
Okay. So the younger one is into some things that's dark, and he doesn't like it.
His youngest.
His youngest, not yours. Okay. And so he kind of wants you to keep, I mean, as he's saying this, because it's funny how you have conversations, but as he's saying this, he's like, he knows you're watching over him. But he goes back to his original message, which was he wants you to kind of check in with him because there's something going on that he doesn't like what he's doing. Okay? And he says it's in the darkness. I don't know, that could be symbolic. It could mean that he's in the darkness, like stuff he doesn't want other people to see, or it could be dark stuff or whatever, but it's something.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, of all the kids, like he really, when my brother passed away, he just kind of disappeared. Like he's up at school but doesn't want to come home, doesn't kind of detached from the family and quiet, and so that makes sense.
Okay. So one of the things that they love to do is show me about their death, which is not joyful. And I've done this like 7 times today already, so we're just going to go with it. But I always tell everybody, like, they like to do that probably for validation, probably so they can talk about it a little bit. But what he shows me is like there was like a boom, something, and then he was out of his body. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
His head, he fell.
Okay. And what he's saying, that boom, like he heard it, like he heard the noise, but he was already, he got out right away is what he's saying. Like he was out of his body right away, so he didn't feel that. So he wants you to know that. Like he didn't feel the pain of whatever happened to his head. It was like, boom, I'm out. Like, and he was kind of stunned and kind of looking over himself like, oh my God, like what just happened kind of thing. But he wants you to know that he was very aware right away of what happened. They have what's called, post-traumatic death syndrome, and it's a lot of what John Edwards focuses on with crossing people over, because sometimes you pass away traumatically. I'll come back over here. Sometimes you pass away traumatically and you don't really know that you passed away, which is why a lot of people roam around. So there's like a whole concern for a while that like all these people are roaming around. I have helped spirits cross over, but for the most part, I think people find their way. So I don't think it's as stressful sounding as it is, but I don't get that from him. He was out and he was like, oh my God. And then he got it. Like he knew where he was and he knew what had happened. He said his only regret is his kids, not being there for his kids. But he said he took in life, like he's showing me like photo flips of like sunsets and towns and mountains. Like he saw a lot of things is what I'm getting from him, and he took that in. So he wants you to know that too, that like he loved his life and he knows that you love life. And so his only regret is not being there for the kids, because the rest of it, he said he really had a full life and he felt full and happy. Now his oldest, so now going to his oldest son, he's showing me a house. I don't know if his oldest son's going to buy a house or if he already has one. He's just showing me a house around his oldest son, whatever that means to you. So just so you know, he's acknowledging that. And then he's showing something about your car. Do you have something about a car? No idea?
I mean,
Did you get a new car or nothing? Okay.
I need to get my car in my name.
Okay. Well, that might be it. I mean, he's showing a car and he might be acknowledging what you need to do with it, So a lot of times they show us things that are things happening in our present time because they want us to know I'm still in your present time. Like I know what's going on in your brain. Yeah. So yeah.
I'm probably more connected to him now than when towards the end because he was sick.
Okay.
So he's everywhere, and I'm kind of the one that tells the family, like,
Oh, I
seeing
love it.
So he's very present.
I love it. Yeah, he's very happy. I feel like he's very happy to be out and to be where he's at. So it's good. Okay. Okay, I want to go to you. I feel a male energy around you, and I can't figure out because there's an older male, but then there's a young guy around you. And I can't figure out who he's connected to. So I don't know if it's you. Like, do you relate to that at all? Do you know any younger guys that passed away? Sorry.
Not that immediately come to mind.
Okay. Any of you guys?
Like, I had, like, friends in high school and elementary school, but they were, like, tertiary friends. So
Okay.
that would relate.
Anybody else? I think it's you, but I just want to double check. Anybody else young? Because it's a young guy.
How old?
I would say teens. So you do know? You also?
My boyfriend's friend committed suicide a while ago.
Right.
So,
And yours was a while ago?
Well, in high school.
In high school? Okay, so let me get some more information from him because he really wants to like talk. Like, I don't feel like he's ever done that, and he wants to do it. So I just want to see which one of you this, because he's been back here the whole time, hanging out with your brother and your grandpa. They're all, these guys are like, we're just going to wait, but we want to be first. So this young guy is showing me, I see broken glass, so I'm thinking probably an accident of some kind. Does that, okay. I see broken glass, and he's showing like, he slid on his, ouchies. He slid on his body. And he was in his body. He didn't go out right away. So he's showing like, really it was like right before the ambulance came, like he saw the little lights and then he went out. So he was there a while. But I do get like the pain was the initial slide, and after that what he's showing me is he didn't even know what, he just remembers seeing. Like he's laying and he's seeing and he saw the lights, but there's no like feeling, if that makes sense. In fact, I almost wonder, it could be shock, but I get the sense from him that he might have lost feeling. Like he might have done something with his spine or something. And then he was out. I feel like he had a little crush on you. Like, I feel like that's why he's there. I know. I'm like, I feel like that's part of why he's here. Like, he just loved you. He thought you were cool. Like, I just get from him, like, he just thought you were really cool. And, like, you know, I feel like he checks in with you. Do you see? So he's showing me, like, you know, sometimes they leave us feathers and buttons and coins and all that stuff. But I specifically see feathers or, like, even birds, like birds in the tree. Like, do you ever look up and just notice the birds in the tree? Is that you too? It might be you. Okay, well, there you go. See, that's that cross stuff. Like, you never know because they're all little chitty chatties. Okay. Okay. Let me see if do you want to know anything from him? I feel like he just wanted to be like, hi, I'm here, I'm with you. Like, he thought you were pretty cool. This is his chance to talk about it. Do you? Well, tell him that he said hi. Because he, yeah, he's like, did he skateboard or something? He's showing me like.
Yeah, it was unexpected. Sorry.
No, it's okay. That's usually how it works.
I mean, like, he was, like, getting rebellious, but also part of the Naval Academy. So
Oh, okay.
rebellious was, like,
Okay.
motorcycles and stuff like that, but he was, like, an Eagle Scout and, like, everything else.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, he's showing skateboards and stuff. Like, I think, is there I want to say Michael, is there
Sorry, Mike, that what? Just in general?
that he's talking about a Mike or a Michael. Okay, so he watches him all the time. He just loves him. Yeah, so he wants him especially to know.
Could it be a Matthew by any chance?
I don't know. I saw like,
Charlie Michael.
I feel like it's Charlie Michael. I mean, take that for what it is, but that's what I think. Okay? So yeah, all right. Okay, I'm going to come back up here and see what else I'm seeing and feeling here. Now that we got that out of the way, I had to get those guys out of the way. I really do want to go over to you, I feel like, because you've got a lot of like there's a lot of energies over here, which is your shop, so they're probably over here anyways. But I feel a grandma around you for sure. Do you have a grandma who's passed? Okay. All of them are? Okay, she's showing me a rose or roses or rose. Does that mean anything about one particular grandma to you? Okay, and what was her name? Anne. Okay, so that's who she is. Okay, that's who we're talking to. And I get the sense that she really wishes she could just make you stuff. Like she just wants to make you things. And it's not one thing. It's like food and sewing. And she like just wishes she could just make you stuff. She's really, I'm going to get emotional. She's really proud of you. It's going to make me cry. She's so proud of you because she sees what you're doing and she thinks it's going to be really good. You're so creative. And she's talking about you painting. Do you paint?
A little bit. I haven't done in a long time.
She needs you to get those paints out. That's what she's saying, okay?
I've been thinking about it a lot recently.
Yeah. Because you're so creative. You have so much creative energy around you. And I feel like she wants to make you stuff so that you make stuff. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So she's really here to help you with that. There's a project you're working on or something, a new project that you just started, and she's really excited about that for you, and she said it's going to go way farther than you expected it to. Oh! Duh. Okay, so it's going to go places, really, places you don't even know. Okay? So it's going to be really good. Okay? And she just loves it a lot. She shows me a teddy bear. Sometimes it's literal, sometimes it's symbolic, because teddy bears mean hugs to me. But if every once in a while, it's like, oh, I have a bear. It's like, oh, okay. Well, so I think that's her message for you. Okay? All right, let's see here. I got to not cry. This day is so crazy. Like, I can't even tell you this day. I feel like I'm like I'm not in the world today. Like, I don't know where I'm at, but it's good. Okay, I want to go here. Here. Somewhere in here. I hear aunt. Any of you guys have an aunt that's no longer here? No aunts? Aunt? You got an aunt? Okay, because I hear an aunt. Then I'll come back up here. Aunt, she's trying to talk to me. Excuse me. Get a drink of water.
Want some tissues?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I live
So,
very close to the waters, so.
Oh, my very good friends have a joke. Like, you don't come to Lisa's house without crying. Like, that's literally, it doesn't matter who it is. Okay, so your aunt passed away. Okay. About how long ago?
6 years.
Okay, and what's her first name?
Katie.
Katie? Yeah, I definitely think this is her.
Really?
Yeah, I do. So she shows like, I almost want to say she was quirky or something. Yeah. Like she's very quirky.
Yeah, very.
Okay, she's very quirky and she's very unique, and even now she's unique.
Yeah.
She's really drawn to that tape. Like she's drawn to that tape. She likes details. She likes interesting things. Like she's like everything. The message I'm seeing her show me is like everything to her is very interesting where she's at, and it was in life as well.
She had a drawer with all kind of. I used to love to play with when I was little. We were very close, and it had all little jewelries and different things in it like that.
Oh my God, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Cool.
That's what I love about it. Okay, so yeah, so she's talking about now. Do you have a son?
I do.
Okay, so she's talking about your son.
Uh-huh.
What's his first name?
Michael.
Michael? Oh, well, there's another Michael. So he's trying to get something done or trying to do something. Does that make sense to you? She's showing me he's working on something or there's something he's trying to accomplish.
Yeah, maybe. Uh-huh.
Okay. And so she said he is not taking the risk that he should be taking. And she's like kind of quirky in her own thing, and she's trying to get this message to him, like, it's okay to do your own thing and to be who you are, because he's a little bit afraid to step into himself. Does that also make sense to you?
No, he's going for it full time.
Is he?
I think maybe he is afraid.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll
Well,
talk to him about it.
And like I said, there's where you don't know, like, but her message is that whatever he's trying to accomplish, he needs to dig into it more.
Okay.
There's something more for him to do. Now, she's talking about your hair. I don't know what that's about, but she's talking about your hair. I almost feel like she's like interested in it or fascinated by it or plays with it or something. Do you ever notice, like, feel a brush or any of that stuff?
Oh, wow.
Okay, pay attention if you do from now on, because I feel like,
Is she with me? I mean,
Of
I
course.
talk to her a lot.
yeah, of course she is.
Okay.
Why do you think she showed up? Yeah, she showed up. She showed up, and she's paying attention to your son too, for sure. But yeah, I feel like notice your hair.
Okay.
I almost want to say she's got something to say about your hair. Not bad, but just like, I don't know if she went. I know, like, I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. So, yeah, right? Like, so yeah, I don't know what that is, but she's like she's noticing your hair.
Okay.
She's like talking about it multiple times. So whatever that means, maybe she really likes it.
Maybe she likes it.
Yeah, because she's not saying, I've had moms come through and say, I hate your haircut. But I don't get that from her. I just get like she's noticing it. I really think I want to talk to you, and you do have like a female energy around you, but she's kind of light, and I feel like it might be a grandma. Do you have a grandma who's passed?
I have a great grandma.
A great grandma, but your grandma's still alive?
My grandmas are alive.
Okay, that might explain why she's kind of faint. What was your great grandma's name?
Bertha.
Bertha? I feel like this could be her. I really want to get to like the nuts and bolts of the message, because the message is what's been coming to me since about halfway through my talk. But I do feel this like female energy space that's kind of communicating. So she's showing your heart, and this, I'm like, with the group, it's hard to have intense, like intimate conversations, but she's showing me your heart and that there's like some sadness there. There's some sadness in your heart and some disappointment. Does that make sense to you? And so she wants you to know, like, first off, like, that can be healed. It really can be healed. And you're going to get through this time, okay? She's showing that you've had kind of like a difficult time, 6-8 months. There's like this last 6-8 months, she's saying 6 and 8, like, has been really hard, more than normal. Does that make sense to you?
I feel like it was more a couple of years ago,
Okay.
but
Have you been struggling with it more lately?
yeah, I have.
Okay. So I don't know how much you want me to get into
It's fine.
the bruising of the heart center here, but so I'm sorry, I'm trying to like censor this without like
Say it. It's okay.
Say it? Okay.
It's fine.
Well, what I'm seeing is that you really were hurt intensely. And since then, you've shut way down. There's like a cocoon all around you. Like your light is diminished. And that's not okay. And you don't have to stay in that spot. And what she's showing with that cocoon is like if you break it open and you open it up, like, and come out, even though it's scary, like, you're going to find that there's so much more out there for you. She's showing it's impacted every part of your life, including your career. Man, the hairballs are coming up from the doggy over. It's okay. He brings lightness to the party. Anyways, so it's time to come out. And what she's showing is it's not just relationships, but your work. Like, it's kind of seeped, that toxic energy is kind of seeped into every aspect of your life. So when I look at all of that, like, that's a spirit message from this loved one. But as a psychic, if I look forward, I see that you have some pretty big changes you need to make. And what I'm going to tell you is, if some of these changes, especially with your health, if you don't make them in the next 3 years, I see a 3 for 3 years, it's going to be a problem. Okay? So now's the time, and it's never too late, but you have to make the change.
That is just crazy, because this morning I just broke down to my boyfriend and I told him that I'm just tired. I'm not feeling good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, honey. You can get past it. That's really the message, is you're going to be able to move past it. Like, you're here for a reason. The message is here for a reason. Like, you can get to a happy place. you know. But the hardest part for all of us to become happy is really facing the ugly truth first, right? We have to really look in the mirror and go, oh man, like crap, I have some work to do. And then you can do the work. But it's that place of acceptance. Once you get there, the rest of it's easy. But getting to the acceptance is the hard part, because that's the part where it's like, oh man, like I don't want to deal with what I've allowed to have happen in my life, you know? So you'll get through this time. Like this is the beginning of it, right? Like this is the start of the journey. So that's the message for you for sure. Okay? You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, you'll be okay. All right. I want to talk to you, I think. You two right here. I know, right? You guys have like a really interesting energy around you. What are your first names? Lindsay? Lee. You guys have, and I noticed it when you came in, but like I can definitely feel it in the room. Like you guys have this like aura around you that's, I don't even know if I can articulate it, but like I feel like there's a whole big adventure waiting for you guys from here. And I also see a lot of creative energy. Like I don't know how long you guys have known each other, but it feels like the synergy of the two of you together is creating a bunch of ideas and a bunch of things you haven't felt or thought before. Is this making sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. And so this is good. I mean, you guys have a really good synergy. And it's going to, you know, oftentimes, I don't want to go too much into a spiel, but sometimes we meet someone, and I feel this way about, you know, my boyfriend, is sometimes we meet someone and everything suddenly is not only better, but like you make each other better. And you guys have that energy where it's like you almost spark each other's brains differently than maybe other people have in the past, if that makes sense. So there is, so in all of that, like you're going to have all these great, like there's a great synergy in all these ideas, but what I'm seeing specifically is that they're showing me that there's this like opening coming for the two of you guys. There's some kind of new project, new beginning, new something that's going to be kind of a big adventure. And I am almost not certain you guys are going to stay here in Colorado. Like it feels like there's something taking you somewhere else into this world. Like it's really interesting. And then you have like a Native American, real strong Native American energy around you, but you have a very specific Native American Indian guide around you, but you have like a very earth energy. And I think that helps you because you're very like you're more floaty, right? So I think he grounds you. But you do like, I don't know how much, have you read about shamans? Do you know anything about?
Next to nothing.
Okay, well you got to look it up. What I see because of the feathers is probably Apache. It might be Cherokee because sometimes they don't always sometimes they show me feathers that make sense, and sometimes I'm like, I'm not really sure which tribe this is, but I want to say it's Apache, but it could be Cherokee, but I would look into it. And the Native American energy, you can do 1,000 things with that, but really I think the bottom line is, you know, their connection to the earth, your connection to nature, you know, but you have a lot of shaman energy around you. So shamans are, you know, the old medicine men, you know, and so you have alchemy around you. That's the word I want to use, you know. So what you do with that is what you do with that, but you do have some pretty strong energy. So I don't know if you guys have a question, but I just noticed your energy. There's a lot of change to come for you guys, I feel. Good, but just a lot of interesting things. Okay. You guys have any questions? Oh, well, you don't have to. I know there's a group, right? But I just wanted to go there. Okay, now I gotta come back up here. It's easier if I can step back and like look at what's going on. And what time? I need somebody to help keep me time because otherwise I'll go and go.
20 to 8.
Okay. I'm gonna do a couple more, and then what I'm gonna do is I brought. How many people are here? So many. Okay, so I brought a couple things, and I'm going to do a couple more readings, but these are my babies. These tarot cards, oh my gosh. So I channel too, which is a really weird thing, and like spirits plug in and talk through you, you know. I haven't done that in public a long time, and I'm not doing that tonight. But the spirits know that, and they try to, like, it screws up my throat. That's why my throat's doing that, because they're trying to get in there. We're not going to do that. Anyway, so I have had these cards since I was 21, so 19 years. They're the only cards I read when I read cards. And I really only use my cards for the mundane stuff, money, work, health, you know, the boring stuff, but the stuff that's important, relationships. Anyway, these cards, I was at my mom's house, and I didn't have a deck of cards at the time, and I saw this deck sitting on her kitchen table, and I was like, hey, can I open that deck? Because it hadn't been opened yet. It was a new deck. I was like, can I open it? Because I really wanted to look at something for work or whatever. It was a silly thing. And she's like, I thought they were your cards. So we never bought these. No idea. And what's even weirder is I found the deck with this. It's like a Masonic lilies or something. But it's not in the box that I have, that it came in. It's some sort of collector box, and I can't find it anywhere. This is really weird. And I love that story because it's just so bizarre. Anyway, so I only read with these cards. So they're totally ripped up and destroyed, but that's okay. You guys can touch them anyway. They've been in 1,000 people's hands. But I do sanitize them because I'm super insane about that. These get wet wiped. Anyway, so I brought these tonight. And I also brought these life purpose cards that are just like a really good, easy deck of cards if you're just wondering like what's next or what you need to focus on or whatever. This isn't enough cards for this whole group, so I have both card decks. So after I get done here, you guys can feel free. I'll let you pull one of these if you want to. And if you want to talk, you should be able to sort out the message on your own. But if you have a question about it when we're done here, like I can talk to you for sure. That's fine. But I brought these just so that I want all of you guys to get something out of it. So, and the other thing I'm going to do while I'm doing these last couple readings is I do have a newsletter sign up that we'll just pass around. I really try not to be psychotic with the emails. So I try to be respectful. So I do a monthly newsletter once a month that talks about what I have going on, and I usually do some channeled messages and just some information because I also am a holistic health coach, so I do help people with dietary stuff and all of that stuff, and so it's like a combo of like the psychic world and diet stuff, so there's my plug on that. And then I send out like events and that kind of thing, so you really only get a few emails from me a month, but I'm going to pass that around in case you want to be on my list. And then I did bring gifts for everybody, so they're over there. And it's a bookmark with my favorite quote in there, one of my favorite quotes, and a candle and some dark chocolate. It's really important to be grounded after one of these things, and dark chocolate is a good grounding, and I can't complain about having any dark chocolate in my life. So there's that. So I'll let you pass that around. And why don't we pass this around, and if you want one of these, shuffle and pull one. We'll pass them around. If you don't want one of these, just pass it to the next person, and then I'll pass the tarot cards around. As long as I get them all back, that's all I care about. So we'll start. You can start there. Okay. Okay, let me see. So I really feel pulled in this direction. So I'm going to go over here, back over here to this little group right here. So I feel a female energy somewhere in here. I'm not quite sure which one of you guys this belongs to, but it actually feels more like a mom than a grandma. Do any of you guys have a mom who's passed away, or do all of you have moms still here? Oh, you have a mom that's passed, and you have a mom that's passed? Okay, let me see what else I can get, because I feel like it's back here. Man, she's showing me... I don't know how to articulate. Like, she's very beautiful. Like, I feel like, and she was, that was important to her. Does that make sense to you? Okay, I'm going to come over here. What's your mom's first name?
Georgina.
Oh, I love that name. That's awesome. Yeah, this is definitely, I feel like this is definitely for you. And she takes your face and, like, wants to kiss you. Like, she, like, wants to, and she's, like, surprised that she can talk. Like, she's surprised she's here. Like, it surprises her. I I feel like for some reason it's been a long time or something. Like she's like, it's been a long time since she's been able to talk to you. And she misses that. She can't even tell you how many times she wishes she could pick up the phone and just call you. And so, whenever I hear that and like see this particular symbol they're showing me is talk to her more. Talk to her more. Pull her picture back out, whatever you need to do, because she's always there. There is a space you've made in your home. There's one of the spaces you made in your home she just loves in your home. There's a space that she just loves to be, and she said it feels so good in there, whatever that means to you. Like she really likes that spot. Now she's showing me, are you having a hard time sleeping, or is there something going on with your sleeping? Mm-hmm. Okay. She's worried about that. And she's talking about that. Let me see what else. So sometimes she sits up with you. And it's kind of like waiting to have a talk. Does that make sense? And she's showing, too, a little bit of worry. Like, I don't know if you're worried about something or if there's some kind of worries around you, but she's showing, like, it's almost like mom saying, like, I'm sitting up with you and you're worried and I'm worried about you and we need to talk about it. Like, that's kind of how I feel from her. She shows, like, this is very interesting because she's showing, like, scales balancing out. Like, it's all going to balance out. Does that make sense to you? And so she's showing, like, the scales have been tipped, but now they're going to balance out and they're going to come back together somehow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so she wants you to know that. She said everything's going to, it's more than like everything's going to work out. It's more like everything's going to be right in the end, whatever that means to you, okay? It's gonna be just and fair and right and balanced. So she's being specific more about that than like, oh, it's okay kind of thing. Okay. I get the sense she really misses eating food. Like she misses like good food. Like that's like what she misses, which is really funny. I don't think I've ever had any spirit ever tell me that. And that makes me sad because I hope I don't give up good food when I die, but it sounds like maybe. So she like misses that or misses, maybe she liked to go to dinner, I guess. But yeah, so that's what she's talking about too. Do you have a question for her?
No, not yet.
Okay. Well, there you go. She's with you. All right. She's with you and she likes it. She likes there's something in your house she likes. Do you know what room she's talking about?
I call it my get ready room.
Okay. Very cozy. Okay. I like it. All right. Let's see here. Let's see what else we can do. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Do you see like entities, like negative?
Oh, the entities. That question's bound to come up. So, well, here's the deal. So I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. Like, is there some icky stuff for sure? But do I believe anything's bad? No. I think kind of everything, just like in the world, there's good and there's bad. But I try not to judge it. So entities and dark spirits, we'll talk about that since you brought it up. So entities are not a soul that lived in a body. Yes. Have I pulled them off people? Yes. Do I get them? I used to. You do have to watch out for it. They're all over the hospital. Like the hospital is their favorite spot because what they do is they like to latch on to souls as they go in and out of physical bodies. So hospitals are great because people are being born and people are dying and they can connect with them. But I'm going to be honest, I don't get caught up in it like I used to because I really think like you can pull them off. It's not the end of the world. But if you have a lot of them, especially addicts, which I'm familiar with, like you can get a lot of negative energies like that put onto you. But the thing you guys all have to know is we are senior in our space, which means that as a human being in this body, it is universal law that nothing can do anything to our body unless we allow it. Now, you can allow it out of fear, out of addiction, so you might get high and go out of your body and you let stuff do things to it, whatever, you know what I mean? Those are all things that we allow it unconsciously. We allow those things to happen. But at the end of the day, we're senior in our space. So, what?
Can you say that again, how you said it?
Yes, we are senior in our space. It is universal law. What that means is there's no way a spirit or an entity or anything from another place could take over your body unless you let them. Or attack you unless you let them. So when you watch all those ghost hunting shows, which I've watched, and they have all the scratches and all this stuff, it's not that I don't want to invalidate that. Like, it's not like that's not valid, but they're allowing that to happen. They're caught up in the drama. I have some people that call me because they're caught up in the drama, and so the answer to that is yes, I see them, but I don't get caught up in that drama anymore. Like, you either can let it go or you can hold on to it.
So you can just ask, like, if them to your guides to release it, or call them off.
Yeah, it's called hooking up, and it's something I learned in psychic school because they do teach it. I mean, it's a process. And what you do is you ask, a golden hook to come down from God or, whatever you believe, Allah, the source, like whatever you call it, the main energy up there. You have it come down and it hooks onto the entity and it takes them up and it purifies them into light. That's all you do. I say that and I'm like thinking like, it sounds like, oh, that's all. You just ask God to get rid of it. It sounds kind of crazy, I guess, but that is what you do. And you can get them off. And you'll know when you have one. If it's not a normal thing, like you'll be like, oh, I have this like weird energy. If you are sick and you really don't have a psychological reason why, because every illness comes from your own emotional stuff. It's not anything but your emotions. But you'll know when it's like, this is not me. I'm not having this issue. This is something else. That can be an entity. Dark or negative spirits is tricky because they're human beings. That passed away. I really don't feel like they're dark or evil. I just don't actually believe it. I have been to haunted houses. I have been on ghost hunting things. I've been in seances where dark energies show up. We're senior in our space. You just ask them to go. Get the F out of my space. I don't want you here. And they have to leave. So really, if you see any of that stuff or if anybody's caught up, I get real hesitant, and I want to watch how I say this, but I get hesitant with other mediums or psychics who get all into that drama because they're calling all that stuff in, and that's, to me, super dangerous. And
The only reason I asked is because I had this lady tell me, she said, oh, you have like no less than like 50 entities in all of your chakras.
oh yeah, no. No, and I don't believe that they're that. I don't believe you can have 50. I just don't. Do they exist? Yes. They're these weird black-looking like spider things to me. I know they're really weird looking, but there's none in here. I mean, I would tell you guys. I mean, we're really fine. Like we're in really good, nice light space, but they're weird little things, and I don't like them either. And I've seen them out and about, but like they're only going to come on to you if you let them. Really, it's really true.
So I have a two-part question. I have one and then this brought that up. So
Here, I'll pass this.
an example of an entity might be, there's been quite a few times where, this sounds super weird, but I'll be in my bedroom and I'll see a black shadow crawling on the ceiling come near me, and I swear there's something in the room. I've ran out, slammed the door, and screamed to my husband there's something in the room, convinced there's something in the room.
There probably was, yeah.
And it's happened probably at least like 15 times to me over the course of the last 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
I haven't had it happen in like over a year, but it made me feel like there's something wrong with me.
Yeah, no, there's not.
How do you get rid of like?
So there's two things I'm going to tell you. The first thing I'm going to tell you is because of your psychic abilities, part of what you're seeing could seem scary, and it's really not. I had that happen all the time when I was a kid where I saw weird dark shadows and weird things, and it's like, oh my God, this stuff is so crazy and something's bad and whatever. And what I realized as an adult was if I stood there long enough and looked at that figure, I figured out it was somebody's grandpa doing something. So the number one thing I'm going to tell you is maybe try to face your fear. I know it's hard, trust me, because I've been there. I used to run and jump onto my bed every night because I didn't want anything to get me. I mean, that seriously was me. So I know it's easier said than done, but take a deep breath, stand there if you have to with a friend, and say, I got to look at this and really see what it is. Okay. My gut feeling is that thing is actually a spirit that's attached to one of the spaces you are at that knows that you can see it, and it's trying to get some attention. That's my gut feeling, my read on it, just with you talking about it. So that's number one. Number two is if you want to get rid of anything, you just say, I'm senior in my space, get out of my home. I only want the light and I only want the good. I only want what is of God in my home. When you say that, if it still hangs out, it probably is just a spirit that you're just not used to how you're seeing that figure. Otherwise, it has to go. Okay. If you're really freaked out, you can sage the crap out of your house and, smudge and burn sage and get it out. Okay. But my gut feeling for you, to be honest, is that I think you're a psychic and a medium, and I think they're trying to connect with you, and you're catching stuff out of the corner of your eye, and it may not even be the same guy, although I do feel a male energy around you that's that particular energy. And I don't think he's in your family. I think he's connected to a home. Is this always been in the same home? Because it feels like it was a different space and he's come with you to this space. Does that make sense to you? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So I feel like it's a man from a space that you lived that's now come into this space, and he doesn't know what to do. It feels like he's kind of stuck, and you might actually be able to help him. Okay? Does that help?
My ex just died on December 30th.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That was leading to my second question. So with this recent passing, there's been a lot of different emotions and stuff, and some people have tried to counsel me and tell me different things and say, well, they don't feel our grief, or they don't feel our pain, or they don't feel jealousy. Do you have any, have you felt any of that from spirits?
Oh, yeah.
Jealousy or
they're
anger
still
or
imprinted
sadness?
with their life.
Okay.
I mean, they are. I mean, we may leave our bodies, but it doesn't mean we leave behind all the imprints on our soul. How else, that's part of our evolution. I think that when you're reborn, you might forget a lot of that, but when you pass away, for sure. Mm-hmm. I have people who are angry and mad and jealous and don't want to talk and oh yeah, they're still going to have all those things because it's all an imprint of who they were in life. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yeah, it would be nice to think that they didn't feel that way, but yeah.
We carry it with us. You can let it go. Yeah. You could let it go in the life. You can let it go in death. Some people pass away. I talked to somebody earlier today that passed away and was like, well, I didn't mean to do what I did when I died, but, I'm okay now, So are they going to have some of those emotions? Yeah, but they reconcile them. If they didn't reconcile them in this life, then they're going to reconcile them in the soul space. You know what I mean? So don't worry about it as much as just know they're just still a soul. They're still having a life experience, just in a different way. Okay.
Super helpful. Thank you.
Okay, I hope so. I don't think it's a creepy thing.
No.
I don't. I think he's trying to talk to you, and you need to talk to him back. And if you're afraid, have somebody with you to do it. Okay.
Can they turn your lights on and off?
Yeah, they can turn. Yeah, it's all energy, so they can turn lights on and off. They can do all sorts of weird things like that. If it's energy, they love to play with electronics and electrical things. So
just ask.
Well, you can ask, but man, I don't like to be demanding. I'm not that person. I did sit with a candle once, and I was like to my great-grandma Viola, I was like, make the candle move. Do something with the candle.
Sorry, I meant ask, so my lights have been flickering.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Multiple times and turning on.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it's the spirit world.
Shut down.
Yeah.
So do I just let it happen, or do I just say?
Well, you can tell him to stop doing it if you don't want him to. I always think that stuff's fun. But if you don't want him to do it, just say, stop doing that. Or give him one thing to play with. You can say, listen, you can mess with this light in my kitchen, but can you not do this to my radio anymore? Whatever. You can tell him what you need. Okay. I had a gal who has there's a little child running around her house. She has this old property, and I told her we were talking about this child. So she had this whole talk with this spirit child and was like, can you please stop making these noises at 2:00 in the morning? Make them at 3:00 in the afternoon. And he did. He changed his ways. They're just doing their thing. So yes, you can ask him to stop for sure. Or you might want to ask, and I know our time is up, but you can also ask there's probably something they want to get across, which is why they're doing it. I had a client in Australia who the lights flickered every time her dad was going to send her money from the other side, and she would get this like random check because her dad had all these businesses, and she'd get these random checks, and her lights would always flash, and then like a few days later she'd get these random checks in the mail. It's the weirdest thing. I know. I wish that happened to me.
Right?
Yeah, can the lights flicker and send me some cash, Dad? Like, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. The pennies are great. But...
Yeah, I know. Can I have more than a penny? Can I have a check? All right, cool. Well, I know I didn't get to everybody, but I'll stick around like while we wrap up. Like I said, there's the little gifty things, and if you haven't signed up for my newsletter, you can. And if you have questions, you can ask me, and you can come up with your card and ask me if you want. But I probably can't read everybody for 5 minutes, but I can definitely talk to you for a few minutes. So any other questions or anything?
We got more wine and food and snacks in the back, and
Yeah.
ourselves. We're going to hang out still for a little bit.
So where do you practice out of?
Oh, yeah. So I'm in Highlands Ranch, and hopefully I'll do some more stuff here too, which will be fun. But my office is at my home in Highlands Ranch. I do events at Full Moon Books. I have classes at ISIS. I'm teaching a class on how to channel at ISIS Bookstore on Saturday. I teach cooking classes at Natural Grocers in Littleton. And I do phone, Skype, in person. It doesn't matter. I have people everywhere, so you can we'll figure something out logistically. I will meet you sometimes too somewhere if it's easier, but I'm pretty busy, so it's hard. These days, it's harder for me to do that. I used to do that more often.
And
so.
I'll say, when I met her, it was the wackiest thing. It was the day before Thanksgiving. I met at Whole Foods.
At Whole Foods.
Like Hampton, and it was like the craziest.
What's
day.
bizarre to me is I'm talking to her grandmother who's passed away in the middle of Whole Foods, and there's like people everywhere. It's like the day before Thanksgiving. I'm like, this is the weirdest day.
So we can hear each other.
Oh, I know. It was the weirdest day. So I've done readings in a lot of weird places. It really doesn't. And I do, so what we did tonight, I do at my home the last Wednesday of every single month. And so I do that. And all my stuff is on Facebook and Instagram and Eventbrite and all that. So you can usually catch me. So usually I have cooking classes once a month. I do a gallery reading like this a couple times a month. And then if you want private session, obviously I'm available all the time. So
Facebook, you said that it's a good way to
Facebook,
contact you?
yep. Well, and you'll get, so if you take one of these things, you've got my business card, and I have other business cards. And then I'm trying to think of what else I should say from a plugging perspective. I do have an April Ignite program. It's only $30 for the 30 days of April, and it's for really if you're looking to jumpstart with your health and your weight and like that kind of thing. I'm going to be doing 30 days. It's a lot of motivational stuff, but we're going to have a conference call once a week for the whole month to really talk about how to do food journaling, giving you a baseline on muscle testing, and just talking about your health and stuff. So it's going to be really fun. It's just like a simple, fun thing to kick you off if you're looking to get some momentum with your health and that kind of thing. So I do that too. So the 30 days thing, I'm just doing 30 days for $30.
Okay.
My prices are $75 for 30 minutes or $150 for an hour. And I do have, with my card, when you take it tonight, you get $25 off your first reading when you come, which is nice because I know it's expensive, but
worth it.
it is worth it. And I will say I did a lot of research for my prices, and most of the good ones in town are $250 to $350 in an hour. So I'm much more realistic than some of them. So yeah. And I do email readings for, you can do 4 questions for $50 on email. So there's a lot of options. I do a lot of things besides just the reading itself. But most of my clients do the 30 minutes for $75 and they're checking in. But if we're doing mediumship stuff, I prefer to do the hour because we need the extra time. It's too much to squeeze into like a short amount of time. So what else? Questions? Other questions? Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I feel special. There's so many people. So thank you guys so much.
Yes, make yourself at home.
Yes, and I'll pull out this stuff I brought, or actually it's on my little clipboard.
Can we do readings over the phone?